There is a word people use about this castle, and it is on almost every guidebook that has ever been written about it. Impregnable. Look at it and you understand why. Up to 80 meters of sheer cliff on 3 sides. A black volcanic rock over a capital city. 1 road up. Researchers went through 1100 years of records and counted how many times an army had actually come at this place. 26. 26 sieges, which gives Edinburgh Castle a claim that sits very badly next to the word on the postcard, the most besieged place in Britain. And it did not hold. Not always. It changed hands again and again and again. So today, 3 of those falls, and 1 building that came through all of them. Because here is the thing nobody tells you when you take the photograph. The most recognizable curve of that skyline, the great rounded wall everybody points a camera at, is a grave. This is Edinburgh Castle. Read the stones, not the slogan. Start underneath, because the rock wrote the rules. It is the plug of a volcano that died about 340 million years ago. Then the ice came. Glaciers moving east hit that hard core, split around it, and scoured the softer stone away behind, leaving a crag with a long tail running down to the east. That tail is the Royal Mile. The castle holds the high end of it, 130 meters above the sea, cliffs standing as much as 80 meters over the streets on 3 sides. And on the 4th, 1 slope you can walk up. That single fact shaped 6 centuries of violence here. Every serious attack funneled toward the same narrow ground, so every serious defense piled up on the same narrow ground. Gatehouses, ditches, gun positions, all crowded along the east. Which is exactly why the first story is about a man who did not use the road at all. The English had held this castle for 18 years. Robert the Bruce wanted it back, and he had a nephew, Thomas Randolph, who wanted it back faster. There was a man with them called William Francis. He had lived in this garrison, and years before, as a young man, he had worked out a route down the north face of the rock. Because there was a girl in the town he was not supposed to be visiting. He had climbed down that cliff in the dark, repeatedly. He knew where the handholds were. On the 14th of March, 1314, 30 hand-picked men went up it. Not the road, the north face. 80 meters of wet rock at night, in armor, in silence. And at the top, a wall they still had to get over. They took it. 30 men went up the north face, while the rest of the force hammered the south gate. And the most defended rock in Scotland fell because one of them had once been in love with the wrong person. That is siege number, well, 1 of 26. And what Robert the Bruce did next is the strangest order in this castle's history. He destroyed it. Not the English. Him. The moment the castle was in Scottish hands, Bruce ordered it slighted, pulled apart, made useless, so that no English garrison could ever sit up here behind good walls again. Think about what that costs. The strongest position in the kingdom finally won, and his answer is level it. Bruce had decided the rock was worth more to his enemies than to him. Almost every building came down. Almost. There is a small rectangle of stone near the summit that survived, and it survived because they left it standing on purpose. Everything else on the rock came down. This one building did not. It is St. Margaret's Chapel, built around 1130 by King David I for his mother Margaret, the queen they later made a saint. From outside, it is almost nothing. A plain box. Inside, a carved Romanesque arch cut with bold zigzags divides the nave from a little rounded apse, and the room goes very quiet. It is the oldest building in Edinburgh. Not the oldest in the castle, the oldest in the entire city. 9 centuries. A demolition ordered by a king, 26 sieges, an artillery age, and 200 years of soldiers using this rock as a barracks. And it is still consecrated. People still worship in it. The smallest thing on the rock outlasted everything built to protect it. The rock did not stay bare. Around 1367, Bruce's son, David II, began a tower. An L-shaped tower house, tall on the eastern edge, looking straight down the Royal Mile at the town. He did not live to see it done. He died here in 1371, and his successor Robert II finished it. For 200 years, David's Tower was Edinburgh Castle. It was the royal lodging, the strong room, and the shape on the skyline. The thing you saw from the town, the way you see the curved battery today. Hold that picture, because in the spring of 1573, it comes down in front of the whole city. Mary, Queen of Scots, had been forced off the throne and out of the country. Scotland split. And one man kept this castle flying her flag long after her cause was finished. Sir William Kirkcaldy of Grange. He held it for 2 years. The Scots called it the Lang Siege, the Long Siege. And it ended when the regent, Morton, did the one thing that could end it. He asked England for guns. English artillery came north under a commander called Drury, and they did not bother with the walls in general. They concentrated on the tower. On the 22nd of May, 1573, the south wall of David's Tower collapsed. 2 days later, the east side went, and part of the portcullis with it. 6 days after that, on the 28th of May, the garrison had had enough, and the castle was surrendered. Kirkcaldy was hanged at the cross in Edinburgh on the 3rd of August. 200 years of tower, gone in an afternoon. The medieval castle essentially ends here. Almost nothing you walk past today is older than that bombardment, except a chapel the size of a room. So they had a problem. A pile of broken tower on the most important corner of the rock. And what they did with it is the reason for this entire episode. They did not clear it away. Morton raised a huge new gun emplacement on that corner, a great curved wall of stone facing the town, built for cannon. The Half Moon Battery. And they built it straight over the wreck. The stump of David's Tower was packed in, filled up, sealed inside the new work. A castle inside a castle. Now go and look at any photograph of Edinburgh Castle. Any postcard, any poster, any shot from Princes Street. That curve, that great rounded wall that gives this castle its silhouette, the thing that makes it instantly, globally recognizable, is a monument to the day it lost. It is not a tower. It is a cairn, piled over the ruin of the building that was standing there when the guns won. The word on the postcard is impregnable. The shape on the postcard is the proof that it wasn't. And for 340 years, that is where the story stopped. The tower was gone, sealed, forgotten, until a man went looking in a coal cellar. In 1891, an architect named Hippolyte Blanc found something odd in a coal cellar. A window slit in a wall where a window made no sense at all. 21 years later, in 1912, a Royal Commission party went back to it. W.T. Oldreeve among them, and dug down through the pavement of the Half Moon Battery to find out what was underneath. David's Tower was still there. Not a footprint, not a scatter of stones. Vaults, passageways, walls 7.5 feet thick. In places, the tower was still standing almost 12 meters high, cocooned in the dark, inside the battery, holding the whole thing up. And in the rubble around it, cannonballs, fragments of exploded shells, 27 of them lying exactly where the sieges left them. You can go down into it. The lost tower of Edinburgh Castle is not lost. It is underneath the tourists, inside the wall, in the dark. Nothing here is ever quite demolished. It just gets built over. It is easy to forget with all this that people lived here. Around 1511, James IV finished a great hall at the top of the rock and put a hammerbeam roof on it. A forest of carved oak trusses, one of the best medieval timber roofs left in Britain. That roof is original. 2 years later, on the 9th of September, 1513, James IV was killed at Flodden. He built a hall for a court that was about to lose its king. And in a small room in the royal lodgings, and it really is small, you will be surprised how small, on the 19th of June, 1566, Mary, Queen of Scots, gave birth to a son. That baby became James VI of Scotland, and then James I of England. The two crowns end up on one head, and it starts in a chamber on this rock you could cross in 4 steps. 7 years after that birth, English guns were knocking his mother's last castle down. 1650. Cromwell comes to Scotland. The castle held out for 3 months, and then Colonel Walter Dundas surrendered it, with supplies still in the storerooms. He is generally thought to have simply decided which way the war was going. But the treasure was already gone. The honours of Scotland, the crown, the sceptre and the sword of state, are the oldest surviving crown jewels in Britain. A pope sent the sceptre in 1494. Another pope sent the sword in 1507. The crown was remade for James V in 1540. To keep them from Cromwell, they were run north, to Dunnottar Castle on its cliff by the sea. Cromwell's men besieged that too. So they were taken out by a woman. Christian Fletcher, the wife of the local minister, walked the crown jewels of Scotland out of a castle under blockade. Over several visits in early 1652, hidden in among sacks of goods. Then she and her husband buried them under the floor of their parish church at Kinneff. They lay under that floor for about 8 years, until the monarchy came back in 1660. And here is the second disappearance. After the union of the parliaments on the 25th of March, 1707, the honours were locked in a chest in this castle. And a country that no longer had its own parliament slowly stopped being sure they were real. People said they had been taken to London. People said they had never existed. On the 4th of February, 1818, a search party got permission to break into the sealed room. One of them was the novelist Walter Scott. They opened the chest. The crown, the sceptre and the sword were lying inside, exactly where they had been put. 111 years. They are on display today in the Crown Room. What is not there anymore is the Stone of Destiny. The coronation stone left Edinburgh in March 2024 for the new museum at Perth. Half the videos about this castle still tell you it is here. It isn't. Outside the chapel sits a gun that says everything about this place. Mons Meg was forged in June 1449 in the town of Mons by an artillery maker working for the Duke of Burgundy. In 1457, the Duke gave her away to James II of Scotland. 6 tons, a 20-inch bore. She threw a stone ball weighing about 150 kilos, the weight of 2 grown men, for 2 miles. She was the most frightening object in Scotland. And on the 30th of October, 1681, they fired her as a salute for a visiting royal duke, and her barrel burst. After the last Jacobite rising, she was carted off to the Tower of London in 1754 with the rest of Scotland's spare artillery. She came home in 1829, by order of the king after a long campaign by the same man who had opened that chest 11 years earlier. Walter Scott got Scotland's crown back into the light, and then he went back for its gun. One last thing, and it closes the circle. In 1852, they put a time ball on Calton Hill, a great sphere that dropped at exactly 1 o'clock, so ships down in the Firth of Forth could set their chronometers. Navigation depended on it. The problem is Edinburgh. In fog, nobody could see the ball. So they ran a cable, 4,200 feet of it, from Calton Hill to the castle, and on the 7th of June, 1861, they answered the ball with a gun. It has fired at 1 o'clock ever since. Every day but Sunday, Good Friday and Christmas. And for its first years, that gun fired from the Half Moon Battery. From the roof of the buried tower. The loudest, most reliable, most public thing this castle does, the sound the whole city sets its watch by, came out of the top of a grave. Carved over the gate under the royal arms is the motto of Scotland's kings.
Nemo me impune, lacessit. No one provokes me with impunity.
26 armies read that on the way in. Edinburgh Castle is not a fortress that never fell. It is a fortress that fell and was slighted and was bombarded and was surrendered and was garrisoned and was forgotten and kept the receipts. A chapel that outlived the king who demolished everything around it. A tower sealed inside a wall and found again in a coal cellar. a crown that went out in a sack and came back after 111 years in the dark. It is still an army establishment. The gun still fires. 2 million people a year still walk up the one road that ever worked. They are climbing the most attacked ground in Britain, and almost none of them know it. If you want the full record behind this episode, every date, every source, the complete written guide, it's linked at the top of the description on our website. If you go yourself, book a timed ticket before you travel, because this is the busiest paid attraction in Scotland and the good slots sell out. Walk up the Royal Mile rather than taking a taxi to the gate. That climb is the whole point. It is the one approach that ever worked, and you will feel exactly why in your legs. Then do 3 things in this order. St. Margaret's Chapel first, while it is quiet. It is the oldest building in the city, and it takes 4 minutes. The honours next, before the queue builds. And be standing on the ramparts at 1 o'clock. One more thing. Put your hand on the half-moon battery on the way out. And remember, there is a medieval tower inside it. And if this one got its hooks into you, go and look at Elt's Castle next. The German castle everybody calls untouched, which we have already made an episode about, and which was bombarded with cannon in 1331. 2 castles, 2 reputations, neither of them true. And if castles with stories like this one are your kind of history, subscribe. The StoneKeep Atlas archive already holds 100 of them, from the Rhine to the Loire, with more episodes on the way.